Hi, it's Dr. Jeff Haskell again, and I know we had a chance to talk about the 2-week nutrition makeover when we were in the office, and I just wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to give you some of the details. Before I would sit down and I would tell this to patients 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day, I finally got smart enough to put it down on a video and also to make sure we don't miss any key points this way. So to discuss the 2-week nutrition makeover, the first thing is that most of you come in with chronic health issues and you tell me you've tried different diets with varying degrees of success. And basically it usually falls into one of the following 3 camps. Is you've experienced remarkable improvements by changing your diet, you've experienced moderate improvements, or you saw no improvement at all and therefore concluded making dietary changes doesn't work. Well, what I could tell you is that many of my patients would never have seen any improvement without dietary changes, because what you eat can either contribute to or help remove one giant obstacle from your healing, and that obstacle is inflammation. So when many of you hear the words inflammation, usually what you think about is, I sprained my ankle, I hurt it, and it's inflamed. Well, there's another type of inflammation that's called cellular inflammation, and it's the cell's response to different types of foods and different types of toxins that actually cause inflammation within the cell itself. One of the biggest offenders is grains. We're going to be talking about that more in just a minute. And the other is processed foods, basically anything you find in a box. They're all inflammatory to your cells. So we'll go through and we're going to give you some of the specifics how to do that. But just remember, inflammation, we're not talking about an owie in your arm. We're talking about cellular inflammation, which is keeping your cells sick and keeping you sick. So in order for you to heal, we have to decrease the cellular inflammation that's happening in your body. And also, this will prepare your body for our healing work. Right now, what we're starting with, and we got to get it cleaned up, we've all seen what a dirty fishbowl looks like, and it ain't a pretty sight. You clean up the fishbowl and then you see all the beautiful fish and the nice colored gravels, and basically we have to do that with you. We got to get that inside cleaned up and make sure that we're starting with as good of a foundation as we can, because as I said before, dietary changes might not make you feel 100% better, and they might not even make you feel any better to start with, but without it, there'll be no improvement in the long term, no matter what we do. So luckily, you could decrease your inflammation and balance your blood sugar by adjusting your eating habits. And when I talk about balancing your blood sugar, we all know what that is going along and everything's fine, had a breakfast, and then you decide not to eat for 7 hours and you start to get a headache and you're cranky, and whatever anybody says, you think they're stupid and you wish they would stop talking. Well, that's low blood sugar, and it's not a good place to be. And we want to make sure that you're eating every 2 to 3 hours so that you can keep your blood sugar balanced. Plus, it has a wonderful effect on keeping down cellular inflammation. So, first you'll decrease the inflammation in your body and balance your blood sugar. You're going to feel better and have more energy. You won't have any more energy crashes in the afternoon. You'll lose weight if you want to. You'll be able to develop the nutritional makeover into a life. You'll be able to develop this nutrition makeover into a lifestyle, which will be a way of eating that works for you without dieting or restriction for the rest of your life. That's how this makeover is designed. You could eat foods you like and aren't limited in quantity. There are just 10 guidelines to remember, 6 no's, and 4 principles. So right off the bat, I will give you permission to make mistakes. The no's and the principles are easy to understand, but they take a little bit of practice. So it's okay to mess up, just keep going. We're all going to make mistakes, and we're going to learn how to do this, and we're going to help you how to get through it. So first, let's cover the 6 no's. The first is no grains, and avoiding these could be the most challenging. However, grains, as we talked about earlier, contribute very much to inflammation in the body, which is what we want to avoid during this nutritional makeover. Grain include things like bread, pasta, cookies, and cake. And Most of us have heard about eating gluten-free, and so they go, well, I'm not eating any gluten products, so I'm doing great. However, if you take a look at the ingredients on the gluten-free products, they're heavily processed flours, they have different types of sugars and chemicals, and they're really even more inflammatory than eating a piece of healthy baked bread. So just because they say they don't have gluten in them doesn't mean that they're okay. So I just want everybody to stay away from that aisle in the health food store that says gluten-free. The second no is no soy. I want you to avoid tofu and other soy products other than fermented foods like miso and tempeh, and then even in just small amounts. Why do we avoid soy? Because soy mimics estrogens, which are a female hormone, and you don't want to be putting more estrogenic type of things into the body. It's also goitrogenic, which has an impact on the thyroid. And many of you are suffering from thyroid conditions, and we don't want to be fueling up the thyroid with something that is going to cause problems with it. And finally, soy is hugely genetically modified. It's probably the most genetically modified substance that's out there. So we definitely want you to stay away from that. And soy hides in a lot of foods, so you got to read labels carefully. And in general, one of the things that you'll find is the less processed a food is, the less chance you're going to find running into soy or any of the 6 no foods. So it's really trying to stay on the outside of the supermarket with all the fresh things that are available as close to the way God made them. However, that being said, there is one thing that we want to talk about, which is dairy. And we want you to stay away from dairy for these 2 weeks because dairy is among typical allergens, and anything that triggers an allergic reaction is causing inflammation in the body. What you can eat are nut milks and coconut milk. And if you have the availability of it, is a small amount of raw dairy products like raw cheese or raw milk, if you have a good reliable source, or grass-fed butter. Kerrygold, which is available in local supermarkets, is a good brand from Ireland. And also there's some others in the health food store that you'll find. And then if you absolutely have to put milk into your coffee, which we want you to not have too much coffee either, be sure to use whole organic cream, not half and half or milk. The fourth no is no sugar. Again, sugar causes inflammation, and you don't want to use any of the sugar alternatives. That's the pink, the blue, or the yellow packets. Those are chemical poisons. Remember, raw sugar is still sugar, so you don't want to have any of that either. However, you can have a small amount of honey or pure maple syrup, and that's the maple syrup that comes from a tree, not from Aunt Jemima. And you also could use stevia, which comes from a plant and is very sweet, but it doesn't raise your blood sugar, and you could find it in the health food store and the grocery store. Make sure it is only the pure stevia, not mixed with sugar alternatives. The fifth no is no vegetable-based oils. We want you to avoid all oils coming from safflower, canola, corn, and soy. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which cause inflammation. The typical American diet is already way too high in omega-6. The other thing is don't ever use margarine or smart butter, which is just margarine, and it has a composition similar to axle grease. You can use olive oil, avocado oil, macadamia nuts, cashews, and walnuts. The sixth no is no alcohol during this time. You're going to give your body a break, and alcohol throws a wrench into it for many reasons. The first is that alcohol in itself is inflammatory. It competes for antioxidants in the liver, it messes up your blood sugar, and it messes up hunger signals. A note on caffeine is we want you to limit your amount of caffeine during this time. It's very hard on the adrenals, which produce the hormones that keep you going. However, I might have talked to you that I would want you to do bulletproof coffee. And if I did, we would have given you a handout about that, and then the bulletproof coffee could be very helpful. And for those of you who want to make it, we're more than happy to share that ingredient mix with you. So those are all the no's. There's just 6 of them. Very simple. You'll still get to eat things you want to eat, just not any of those 6 things. Now we're going to go through the 4 principles. The first one is every time you eat, I want you to eat a protein, a carbohydrate, and a healthy fat. This is for meals and for snacks. The protein must come from an animal or a protein powder that uses pea, hemp, or rice protein, no whey protein. A carbohydrate is very simple. It's either a vegetable or a fruit. And then the fat could either be olive oil, grass-fed butter, avocado, or nuts such as macadamia nuts, walnuts, or cashews. Other nuts are not okay. They're high in carbohydrates. They don't count as a fat. So for your fat, it has to be one of those 3 nuts, macadamias, walnuts, or cashews. The second principle is don't skip meals. Breakfast is mandatory and should be the biggest meal of your day. As I discussed before, you can make delicious bulletproof coffee with your breakfast, and that could fulfill your fat. But if we told you to not drink too much caffeine, you don't want to add that in. 3, we want you to eat every 2 to 3 hours. That's what we talked about earlier. It keeps your blood sugar balanced, and keeping your blood sugar balanced helps to keep down inflammation, takes pressure off of your adrenal glands, and helps your whole body to increase its energy and to stay more focused. The 4th principle is I want you to eat twice as many vegetables as fruits. Very simply, take a look at it. You add a fruit, try to eat twice as many vegetables. Fruits have a lot of sugar in them, so we just want to cut down the amount by making sure you eat more vegetables. So that's it. It's these simple 6 no's and 4 principles will help you have more energy, decrease inflammation, balance your blood sugar, and get you on the road to healing. Many of my patients knew they wanted to eat better and improve their nutrition, but just didn't know where to start. This gives you a simple structure. When you decide to follow this program to heal your chronic health condition, we will also help with a nutritional consult that sets you up to win. This is your basis. It's the bottom of the pyramid of health, and we really got to get you set up right on it. And thanks for your time.